Hello, everyone. I'm the Bodacious Cowboy with my co-host, Christy Knichel. Are you ready for a special edition of the Storytelling Chronicles? We are. Let's go.
Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Downtown. Oh, they don't know. Downtown. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Show up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to get the color red, the blues.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics. Today, we have a fantastic guest. We'll get into that in 1 minute. But Christy, how are you doing today?
Doing great. The sun is shining and the weather's been a little hot, but I'd rather be hot with the sun out than it being cold with the snow. So,
Sure, I concur with that. But we have a great guest today, don't we?
Yes, we do. She's actually a good friend of mine and a fellow CEO that I have been mentoring over the years. She's wonderful. So let's talk about her. Lorena Camargo. She is the CEO of PearlTrans Logistics. She has been living logistics from a young age. She entered in the industry at 17 and quickly rose through the ranks to become vice president of operations at a courier company. At 24, ready to forge her own path, Lorena founded PearlTrans Logistics in Los Angeles using a $25,000 loan from a friend of a friend after traditional banks turned her away. She built PearlTrans on the values of innovation, quality, and teamwork. Today, the company is a full-service transportation provider offering customized same-day delivery solutions for industries such as healthcare, pharmaceuticals, automotive, and government agencies. From human tissue and aircraft parts to confidential documents, PearlTrans ensures safe, timely deliveries across California and select U.S. cities. PearlTrans blends courier services, trucking, and air freight to meet each client's unique needs. With a strong focus on operational excellence, the company is dedicated to optimizing efficiency, increasing profitability, and building trusted partnerships that integrate seamlessly into client operations. Since 2020, Lorena has served on the board of directors of the Customized Logistics and Delivery Association, known as the CLDA, which advocates for the final mile sector through education, networking, and policy engagement. She is the youngest woman and first Latina ever elected to the board. As president-elect with her team beginning in 2026, Lorena champions women and minority-owned businesses and is a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion in logistics. She has also served on the boards of the California Delivery Association and the Los Angeles and Silicon Valley chapters of the National Association of Women Business Owners. PearlTrans Logistics has earned a spot on the Inc. 5000 list in both 23 and 24, an achievement that recognizes the company as one of the fastest growing private businesses in the industry. Let's bring her on out.
Wow. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you?
Good. I feel really good. I was out for 2 weeks with sciatica pain and laryngitis.
Oh, geez.
So I am feeling good today.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, what an intro you had. I know I've worked with you, obviously, but you're just continuing to build on your business, but would love for you to share with our guests, how you got into logistics and just talk about your journey to where you are today.
Okay. Yeah, great. Well, I started in this industry right after high school. I actually just celebrated my 20-year industry anniversary, which I like to celebrate those milestones because when I started, I thought I was just going to answer phones. I had no idea what a career company was, and it was really just a part-time job. I was trying to fulfill my dream of becoming a mechanical engineer, so I just wanted a part-time job. And here I am 20 years later, still in this industry that I'm so passionate about because we get to work with a diverse set of clients, various industries. And I love the challenges that we help them solve, the commodities that we move for them. And it's just such a great atmosphere. So that's really what pushed me to drop out of school, and just pursue this full time. And the company that I was working for, Continental Messenger, I found opportunities there to grow, to advance my career. And so I worked my way up to VP of operations. And a few years in, the company owner was having health issues. So he just wanted to be done with the business. So that's when I found an opportunity to venture out on my own. These customers had to go somewhere. They enjoyed working with me, and I loved working with them. So, someone had to take over and serve these clients. So I was like, why can't it be me? And so that was 2011. And here we are 14 years later.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I forgot
That
you
is.
were even younger than me when you got into the industry by a couple years. So, no, absolutely amazing. So you do final mile and expedited delivery. So, what does it take to deliver high stake shipment speed, precision, and trust? Like, what is your experience with these deliveries that you're doing, and like, what does it take to truly do this type of work?
Yeah, sure. So in the supply chain, everybody thinks of like sourcing raw materials, the manufacturing, the big trucks, LTL, and it's always the final mile that gets overlooked because it's just such, it's really the last leg of the delivery, but it's what requires the most effort because there's time constraints, there's traffic, there's short delivery windows, and there's special handling. Like if we're delivering a specimen, it's temperature controlled.
Yep.
I always tell, potential customers, if you need a package thrown at your door, we're probably not the company for you. Because with Final Mile, it's really all about building that end user, that customer experience. So we're very fortunate to work with companies in the healthcare space. And, that's pharmaceutical, fertility clinics, some military bases, military hospitals, some tire distributors, repair shops. And it's really, commodities that there's just specific requirements. It can't just be, again, thrown at your door, and it can't just be anybody delivering. It's people that need to be vetted, especially when you're delivering high value medication.
Sure.
So it's in essence like white glove, a sort of white glove service, because it's
Just about
definitely
testing that.
right. Exactly. Yeah, it's something that's high value. There's also certain technology requirements, which when I started in the industry, like faxing PODs was pretty cool. But nowadays it's like you need to have your POD like on the spot. We think of Amazon, like they're the ones that kind of like have push that. And so now whenever we meet prospects that are like, oh yeah, we get our PODs with the weekly invoicing, like, wait, what? People are still doing that? Anyways, with the last mile, you want to our customer needs to let their customers know that their package has been delivered. Here's a picture and everything. So there are those type of technology requirements as well.
So do you do like dunnage removal as well? Unpack, dunnage removal, that kind of stuff?
We used to when we did furniture assembly and some e-commerce work, but we no longer do that. We've shifted. I remember a mentor recently told me, you could either be an inch deep and a foot wide, or you could be an inch wide and a foot deep. So we've really narrowed down the industries that we serve, and because with everything in Final Mile, there's so many stringent and intricacies in the type of commodities. We've really now limited what we deliver, so we no longer do furniture. But even if we're like trying to narrow down healthcare, like there's so many things. When we started doing like fertility shipments, someone's like, oh, is that just for humans? Or there's also horse breeding. I'm like, wait, what? It's like this. Anyways, we've really narrowed down. So to answer your question in a long way, short way, no, we no longer do furniture delivery.
How about VOR?
I'm not sure what that is.
Vehicle off the road, automotive, like
Oh, yeah.
like emergency deliveries on parts and stuff like that.
Yes, so we don't transport vehicles, but yes, we transport any components, any parts. So we'll get calls because we're also open 24/7. We'll get calls like at 1 a.m. and it could be stuff like either a vehicle broke down and we work with the rental company, or I feel like we've all been on the consumer side where we leave our keys inside the vehicle, so then the rental company sends us with the extra set of keys to
Yeah.
their customer.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. People don't think about like who's doing that stuff, right?
Yeah.
that's a
Question. Yeah, no, for sure. But so what is the most interesting thing that or product that you have moved? Because I know you mentioned fertility, and that was something I was familiar with. But like, what else have you moved that? And is there something that you've moved like that went wrong?
Yes and yes. Well, one of the interesting things that well, at least it's interesting to me, because one of our customers, we do a lot of work within printing, grand format printing. So their customers are like Disney and Marvel. So I'm a huge Marvel fan. Not currently, by the way, because I'm mad at Kevin Feige, but uh, I'm talking about before Phase 3. But that's
Yeah.
but so when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, like we were transporting those standees that you see at the movie theaters where you could take pictures with
oh
them.
yeah,
So
the point of sales, the fuel. Yes, yep.
we transport like the end product, but we also start like from the very beginning. So I remember one of our drivers called us up so excited, like I saw them cutting Gamora, because like they have to be so precise. And then we get to deliver the end product. And so for me, that's just pretty cool because we get like behind the scenes of like how all of this stuff gets to the movie theaters. I mean, I wish I was there when they're filming and stuff, but we don't transport any film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what was something that went wrong in one of these type of shipments?
Well, something went wrong. Like this was very early on, and it was a learning experience. We had to deliver a package like at 10 p.m. and our driver left it at the door. Those were the instructions, because it was it was a package. It needed to be delivered at 10 p.m. so that they could get it first thing in the morning when they woke up. So it turns out the driver delivered it at the wrong door,
Yeah.
and he couldn't get back in. The gate was closed. And I remember crying. I was like, oh my goodness. Because this was like, it was very early on, maybe like a few months in. And that was when, I was customer service, I was sales, I was everything. So it was like, how can I call up this customer that I begged to trust us? Like, sorry, we delivered it at the wrong door. I cried with the driver on the phone. He called up he went to knock on the neighbor's door, like to help us out, get the package. And so it was solved. So now what we do is, obviously now there's picture PODs, but if someone tells us to leave their package at the door, we ask for contact information. We ask for any descriptive, anything of like their doormat or something, so that we are leaving it exactly like where the package is. So anyways, that's why we also limit what packages we leave at the door. It was a learning experience for us.
Yeah, stuff always happens. So like question, like how like I know obviously you're picking, you're a niche, right? And they talk about riches and niches. But how do you get opportunities like, like the Marvel thing? Like how do you get those type of opportunities? Is there a different load board or do you have to work with certain companies?
Yeah, what's helped us out is that I try to network as much as I can. I go to these logistics conferences, and some of our best customers come from other carriers themselves, like other carriers across the country that they have a customer that has a need here in California, and so they've been very gracious to make those introductions. We've also, we try to do a good job. When there's issues, we communicate, and so customers have appreciated that, to the point where they'll refer business to us. And also, I feel comfortable with asking them, like, hey, you've sent us to this location several times, like, would you be willing to make an introduction, or is there anyone there that I could talk to? So just pretty much being bold and asking has really helped us out a lot, because those are warm leads. Because if I were to call up some of these companies, they'll be like, who are you? No, we use FedEx and UPS.
Right. That's always the big names. Actually, I just talked to or I met a guy last week at a friend of mine, actually, that owns another company, Raquel Davis. Raquel Davis. Geez, she's going to kill me for that one. Anyways, I met one of her customers, and when he talked about his smaller type stuff, it was FedEx, UPS as well. So those are like the two big names out there. But there's companies like you that can haul in those markets, which is, people don't know, I think, that companies like you exist in those spaces.
Yeah, and one of the things also that people may overlook is that FedEx and UPS use companies like ours for any of like special handling that they may need, because FedEx and UPS are customers of ours, and they call us up for their custom critical division, for their supply chain solutions. So, it's all about partnerships as well. I'm not trying to snub FedEx and UPS. They're great at what they do. They deliver millions of packages a day. So, but yeah, we're really grateful to get to work with them as well.
Yeah, there's one of these things, though, it's that personal touch. When you start, dealing with these conglomerates, these big hitters, you don't get that. With you would get that. You would have customer service one-on-one. You get lost, or it's all, AI driven or whatever. You don't really talk to a human. A lot of people want that touch, that feeling of support. And that's probably why you're doing very well, taking on that, because that's what a lot of customers are looking for sure.
Yeah, they are, specifically with like the healthcare space, when there's really no room for error. We started working with cryobank since day one. We delivered donor sperm and embryos for them, and we would do their local ground deliveries. And so one day they called me up because they had a tank. There was storms in Texas. And they were transporting their tanks across the country through FedEx. And so the thing with FedEx is that, again, they're great at what they do. I mean, they have a whole infrastructure, but it doesn't go straight from LA to New York. They put it within their supply chain. So there was a tank that was on a FedEx truck, but it couldn't move. And those tanks only hold the temperature for 72 hours. Well, the truck was stranded. So he called me up like, hey, we use you guys for courier services. Like, we need to send out a replacement specimen. Who can you recommend? And I was like, actually, we do that work too. We're an indirect air carrier. So anything expedited, like, what is it that you're looking for? And so that's how we actually started also transporting specimens through Next Flight Out. And so after that, they just used us for all of their any tanks that needed to be sent out, because if it's going to New York, sure, the tank can hold the temperature for 72 hours, but the transit time doesn't take even 24 hours. We make sure that it goes on a direct flight, and we make sure that there's a courier waiting for that tank so it's delivered to the clinic.
So you use vans, box trucks, like things that weight under 10,000 pounds, pretty much?
Yes, most of our fleet is sedans, and we also have cargo vans. The biggest vehicle that we operate with are 24 to 26-foot trucks, but
Right?
that's like very limited. We just have access to those because sometimes our customers have pallets that need to be expedited right away, but we really don't do anything larger than 26-foot trucks.
Yeah, and one of the really good things moving it that way under 10,000 pounds is that you don't have to you don't have a requirement for HOS rules and regulations. If your driver wants to drive for 36 hours, they can. They don't have to drive just for 11 out of the 14 hours. So you get it there a little bit quicker. Of course, in a safe mode. Of course, yes.
Of
So do
course.
you have your teams as well, team van drivers on those expedited?
We have a couple of those, but anything, what we found is anything over 400 miles, it's really quicker if we just put it on the next flight out. So we really don't have any deliveries where, probably like the furthest one would be we had some camera equipment that needed to get from LA to New Mexico because they were doing a coverage on stuff happening at the border. Um, for that, we sent a team because the camera equipment had to get out there right away. But yeah, that's probably the furthest as far as like ground deliveries.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's like a whole nother side that none of us really know a whole lot about. But it's a critical piece to the supply chain too. Like, have you ever done organs?
I was about to ask that.
Yes, we've transported. This was we did it for a 3PL. We were working with we've transported livers. We haven't transported hearts yet. I can only imagine, like, I think I would just like die if anything went wrong. I don't know if you guys remember, like, was it last year or the year before where it was being transported like from the helicopter, and then like they, was at the destination already, and like the person tripped, and so the cooler opened, and then they put it back again, and then the person tripped again. I would die because that's someone's life. Yeah, this was, I forgot what city. Oh, I hope it was in LA. I forgot what city, but like that's very nerve-wracking. We haven't transported hearts.
Oh my God. So let me ask you this, right? What's the insurance on something like that when you've got a critical organ? It has to be high because a life matters. What kind of insurance policy do you have on an item, or what does it consist of?
Yeah, well, the sad truth behind, all of this is that, like, you're right, like transporting a heart would be, it does mean someone's life, but the sad part is like that the specimen itself is not of high value, which is, like the ugly truth behind logistics. Even for like our fertility specimens that we transport, like our insurance policy, the most they allow us is $25,000.
What? That's
Yeah.
incredible. That's incredible. I mean, you're talking about a life.
Yeah. So what happens? Does it come from the other side though? Like, whoever you're transporting it from, or they have to? I mean, I guess how do you even replace it? You wouldn't even replace it.
Yeah.
When you think about that, people are on a list, a waiting list. Some of them won't make it, and they just hope it gets from A to B. But man,
so it's critical, but it's not high value.
Yeah, it's critical, but not critical.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like like transporting like a little like a wash or something, because like an airplane's down. It's like the wash itself could be like $5, but like it represents like a flight that can't take off. So like, how do you put a value to that? Like we do it, like an airline could put a value to it, but from an insurance, again, I'm not an insurance expert, but it's just crazy how like for someone like they're it's their life, but the commodity itself, it's not like it's self-insured.
That's incredible because when they have to do like heart transplants and all that, you're talking about specific time frames in which that helicopter has to be there when they take the heart out of somebody to replace it. And it's only a small window of opportunity. So it's like, that's definitely, like, in logistics, that's a do or die situation. No
Yeah.
in between. Seriously, when you think about that, that's why I can't believe that the insurance on something that's so critical like that wouldn't be in the millions, because
I guess
it's gonna cost the guy insurance company millions to get that transplant. When you think about it, that's insane.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I understand why, I guess, now that you explained it, because how do you really, like, even if you got the money to pay, what is that going to go towards, other than, like, maybe some of the stuff that's already happened, right, from a transportation perspective, that, like, you can't really replace the heart other than someone else that you get another heart from or something.
Yeah, and that's why you really have to vet the delivery company that you're using. Fortunately for us, we've had a 0% loss. We always tell that to customers because, especially patients within going through fertility treatments, like it's a painful process, and so now here we are delivering the embryo. And so they ask us all these questions, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry. There's only this much. However, we have never had any incident, and here are all the protocols that we follow, and so that puts them at ease.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only so much we could do, but I always promote like 0% loss ratio, because like I personally, I feel like I would die if we ever lost an embryo.
Yeah. Well, another random question. There's like a black market for this stuff, right? So like so now, like, it just came to my head, like, so do you feel like your people are secure if someone knows you're hauling something like that and they try to,
That's got to be an inside job. It has to be an inside
yeah,
job.
I'm just curious if that's ever been a thing that's ever had, come up. Maybe it hasn't, and I shouldn't even be talking about it, but I'm just curious. It's like an armored truck, right? Like, people know it has cash in it. If someone knew that you had a organ in your truck or however it was being delivered, like,
Well, the good thing about being in the final mile is that we're kind of incognito. I feel like it's more like a large truck is a larger branded vehicle is most likely to get robbed than a courier. Of course, stuff happens when we do our HIPAA training. Yeah, there's like medical kits that have gotten stolen, because all of that, could be evidence, like for a trial or something. But we're fortunate enough that we haven't had any incident like that. And just with all our shipments, like, we make sure also that when the drivers start their day, they're all gassed up. So we limit how many stops they have during the day, but everything's point A directly to point B. We don't hold packages. Everything that we do is just hotshot expedited, so we could limit those instances.
which
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. The reason why I was asking about insurance is that we used to have horses, and no, we didn't pay $100,000 for stud's sperm in order to pregnate a female. But there's people out there that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for a champion sperm, and there has to be some type of insurance. I've never moved that kind of stuff, but that's why I'm saying that. I mean, the heart transplant, all that, they're paying astronomical, like hundreds of thousands of dollars for somebody's heart. It's like, how do you get that back? Or you just write it off? I mean, but I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Because like there's also been cases where like, but this isn't, well, at least the cases that I read, it's never the delivery company, but the wrong embryo gets implanted, and then they don't find out till like, they're teenagers. So all of that, I mean, you just really have to vet the company, and if you're a consumer, ask all these questions, like, has this ever happened? Like, have you thought about it happening? How can you prevent it? Like,
Right.
I would encourage like people asking those questions to whatever provider they select.
Yeah, it's like vetting a carrier, but it goes well beyond vetting the carrier, because there's
Yeah.
got to be more into it than just your common carrier and vetting them, whether they're approved or not approved. It's
Well, have you gone through that process before to find that it's been something fraudulent or anything like that, or is everything always vetted out for you?
As far as like customers go with like investments, um well, I guess that's one of like not perks, but of not being like a $1 billion company, that like people wouldn't target our company for like to commit any transportation or insurance fraud. But yeah, we've just been very fortunate. We really get to know our customers, and even like with fertility patients, it's sad that sometimes it's not like a one-off customer, because it's with fertility treatments, it's a long process sometimes. So we really get to know the people that we're working with. So I'm just really grateful we haven't had any situation like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break to do our sponsor, and then we will be right back. And then we'll start asking you some more questions here. Awesome. So our wonderful sponsor from Talento, we help companies grow with the right people and the right support. At Talento, we start by understanding your business goals, then guide you toward the talent and solutions that make growth possible. Whether it's strengthening your team with nearshore professionals or identifying smarter ways to scale, we offer tailored support directly or through trusted partners. Because sustainable growth takes more than hiring. It takes clarity, strategy, and the right connections.
Logistics moves fast, but is your hiring keeping up? Struggling with high turnover? Hiring taking way too long? Talent costs soaring through the roof? It's time for a smarter solution. Meet Talento, the future of logistics hiring. Nearshore talent tailored to your needs with a faster hiring time, stronger teams, and top-tier professionals from Latin America at a fraction of the cost. Skilled, reliable, and ready to make an impact. Scale smarter, hire better, and stay ahead with Talento. Ready to transform your team? Book a call with us at talento-io.com to learn about our faster, smarter, and limitless solutions today.
And we're back.
Awesome. So I guess picking it up, going a different direction now, I think one of the things I wanted to ask you about too is, making bold decisions in your career. And I think one of the things that you mentioned that would normally scare someone off from starting your own business, but the fact you didn't get the money to start the business. So how did you convince a friend of a friend to give you money to start your business?
Well, it was a long process, because I was 24 at the time, and like I didn't have a savings account. But based on my one semester of accounting at a junior college, I prepared all these spreadsheets, like here is my P&L, the cash flow, all these customers pay in like within 30 days, but I need expenses for this much, this is how much I'm anticipating payroll would be, all of that stuff. So I went to the bank. They shot me down quickly. And so then I started looking within my circle, and, I wasn't friends with any like influential people, because thinking back, like, honestly, well, what, still now 25,000 is a lot. You don't just hand that to someone. So I was really lucky that a friend made an introduction to me to their friend. And I showed him all these projections and like, look, like, I'm gonna pay you back. I just need this money. Just can our terms be 12 months? And then he's like, I'll give you 3 years to pay me back. I'm like, okay, I won't need that much time, hopefully. But thank you. And I paid him within 9 months, because I wanted to make sure that, if I ever needed an infusion of capital, also like I had this door open. But I was just, I would say, fortunate, but in my case, people know my strong work ethic as well, and I've really never I've never been handed anything, so that's why like I'm extremely grateful, and I feel like people can see that, and people see how genuine I can be.
Yeah, I would agree. You definitely, when I first met you, just again, um, you could just tell your drive that you have and the work ethic. And that's awesome at that young age, though, that you even thought to ask somebody in your circle for the money and to keep that going. So that's awesome. I mean, is there another, say, decision or a bold decision you've had to make that was risky, that maybe went well or not so well?
Let's see. Ooh, so many, but which one am I ready to talk about? No, I'm just kidding.
Don't we all?
Well, one of them was we started doing warehousing in 2019. And before we leased out warehousing space, I thought about like what type of customers we already have that would require warehousing space, what verticals I could go after. I talked to a couple friends that were already doing warehousing, so I felt pretty confident about that. But then, in 2020, there was a global pandemic. Not just that, but also in LA, real estate is very expensive. So we were paying $12,000 a month for about 4,000 square feet. Um, so that was something that we needed to get out of, because in 2019 we broke even as far as like our warehousing business. Like on our P&L, it was like a separate line item just so I could see, how we were utilizing the space. So we broke even. But in 2020, like we ended up losing money because it was just the customers that we had counted on. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if that's an exception. It was a global pandemic, but it was something that we really had to get out of. So we rode along in 2020. In 2021, we were hoping for things to get better, but they didn't. So we were able to negotiate with our landlord, getting out of this 5-year lease. So now, so we did have to pay a penalty, whatever, it's done. So now looking back though, I feel like I'm I'm trying to think like what we could have done differently. Maybe like the way that we're doing it now, where we're able to offer it as a solution, but we've partnered with
Right.
someone that's actually thriving in warehousing, and we're able to add it. Just if we have a customer where we're doing the transportation, but they need overnight storage or very short term storage, we have a partner that we could count on. So if I could go back, that's the way that I would do it. And then once we've built up like enough business where like we're occupying too much space, then that's when I would have gone to lease the warehouse. But you live and you learn. And so it just taught me to stay on top of my numbers.
And you survived. I think the biggest point though is you're like, what would I have done different? I think the fact that you just pivoted and you knew you had to get out of it and took those steps, I think is clearly the first step, because some people just don't do that. They just think something's going to change, right? And we've seen that the last few years in logistics, where with the market that we're in, where they thought like I held on too long thinking it was going to change and it didn't. Before they know it, all their money's gone. Stuff like that. So now kudos to you for figuring that out. I mean, we've all made our share of mistakes when it comes to growing a business. And, but I feel like you don't really learn that stuff unless you already had someone you could ask prior, or you just learn from making the mistakes.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you. So you've been in the business for 20 years, right? What kind of obstacles and barriers did you have to break down being a woman-owned business? That, I mean, I'm sure that there was some negativity, probably, I would think. Let's talk about that a little bit. What kind of struggles did you have, like coming out of the gate? You had your customers, your previous employer pretty much shut down his business, and the customers you had wanted to go with you. because of the service and everything. But now you're in growth mode. You're taking what you had and was already moving, and now you're moving forward. Let's talk about what happened in the next 5 years in that growth mode that you were in, and some of the problems that you faced.
Sure. Yeah. So when I started at the previous company that I've been working for, I was the only woman there for like most of the 6 years that I was there. So I did have to deal with a lot of stuff. I remember there was a driver that I was arguing with. He's like, go back to the kitchen. Like, okay. It was just like, all right, well, okay, it was 2006, not the 1950s. So I did have to deal with a lot of that. My boss was very supportive of me. But once I started Pearl, I don't know if it's because like I owned the company, everything was going to be on my terms. I feel though that all the obstacles really were, I mean, it's real in logistics. A woman, Latina, you don't really see a lot of us. But I felt like some of my biggest obstacles was just inside of me, just going into room like, oh my god, I'm different. Oh my god. What I've found that has helped me is really to quiet down those voices inside of me. Um, I've just been so grateful in my career that there's been a lot of great women like Christy that have mentored me, been so generous with their time. But there's also been a lot of great men that I feel comfortable with, like calling up if I have a question. Obviously, I'm very careful, with who I deal with, but.
Sure.
I guess the way I carry myself also, I feel comfortable asking questions, and just everybody's just been so gracious and generous with their time. It's just really been me. Like I've had to quiet down those voices inside of me that are really telling me you don't belong, because I've found that like I get to decide where I belong, and I just have to go in and be confident and just own it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what about being in the state of California? I mean, I love your state to go
There,
visit. Beautiful state, but from a business perspective, it's been challenging, right?
Yes. Very. Yeah, I love seeing all these LinkedIn posts where people are complaining because gas has hit $3, and I'm like, if it hits $3 here, it's like gas is pretty much free. Like gas has gone up to like almost $7. Like right now, I think on average it's $5.
It's
uh
like $3.33 this morning when I got gas here.
yeah,
Jeez.
that's
Yeah.
cute.
What about the like the 85 or some of the other
Yeah.
regulations, like carriers wanting to leave the state? Because obviously, I do a lot of business in California, and that's been something our carriers are talking about.
Yes. Yeah, that is a huge thing here in California. AB5 pretty much made it illegal to work with independent contractors. There's a three-prong, you know,
Right.
one of the things within logistics that affected us is like that in IC, you can't be in your same line of work. So if you're promoting yourself a certain way, but then the driver's also promoting themselves a certain way, you're pretty much in violation of AB5. So that's why we've depended on a great partner like Open Force, who helps us vet owner operators who have actually made the investment in their equipment. And they help us stay compliant with all their forms, all their paperwork, to make sure that we are compliant with AB5. Because we also tried. Oh, I guess that's also another mistake. Man, I have too many mistakes. There's not enough time.
You learn from them.
But back in 2020, when that was like the first year that AB5 was going to go into effect, we did try to convert our ICs into employee drivers. Like you'll have benefits and this and that, but we found a lot of ICs want to stay independent. They Most of the drivers that we work with, they're hustlers. They'll work 24/7, kind of in a safe way. But then they want to take a month off to go to Guatemala or El Salvador. They can't do that as an employee. There's
Right.
certain rules and certain policies that they have to abide to. So we had a really hard time converting these ICs into employees. So we had to like outsource, start hiring, looking for employee drivers. But there wasn't that work ethic wasn't there, because when you're an hourly worker, you really you kind of watch the clock. And so it was hard for us to find drivers that really had that hustle, that customer centric focus. So eventually, it was just like, all right, well, we just got to work with our attorney, we got to work with Open Force, and we're going to stick with owner operators, because or else we couldn't give our customers the service that they needed, that just the high level of service that they've come to expect from us.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear, because I think the other part of it is the independent contractors, but yet you still have to hope that they still show up and do what you need them to do, even though they're not like a direct employee. They're an extension of your company. And you hope that you get the right ones working for you that are going to make your company shine. So I'm sure, is that challenging to handle? Do you have a lot of turnover?
It was actually more challenging to have employee drivers show up on time. With ICs, because of the work ethic, because they pretty much they're there to hustle. They know that whatever they work, like that's what they get paid. Whereas like an hourly worker already goes in there like calculating their 8 hours plus times this. Whereas a driver has already made an investment in that equipment, so they themselves keep that profit margin high. It's just the mentality that comes with it. And the ICs that we've been working with them, many of the ones that we started with since day one are still with us today. And that's why it's so great to have a partner like Open Force that helps us vet those drivers, because it's not someone like, oh, you have a van? Yeah, we have deliveries. There's a process as
Right.
well. And we just also, have good relationships with them. Like, hey, how's your wife? How's your family? It's all about relationships, even with, especially with those owner operators that are at our customer's doorstep, in our customer's office.
Yeah, no, I mean, that does make sense. They're taking care of their asset. And the reason why I said that is like on some of the business we do, some of the things we hear from the carriers, dispatches, well, these drivers, certain ones don't want to go to this location, or they only want to do these pickups or these deliveries. And I guess that's kind of where I was going. Like, do you struggle with that with some of your driver base? And how many drivers do you have?
Right now, we're working with 95 owner operators.
What? Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and everyone's pretty great. I think it's just we also have really great customers. I remember we were running late on a delivery, and so a CSR called up the customer, and then the customer just started, just lost their mind, screamed at her and hung up on her. By the time that she came over to me, she was crying. The customer was already on the phone ready to apologize. Those are the type of customers that we have, especially because we do site visits before we onboard customers. So we make sure, because I worked my way up. So like, I know how challenging parking is, bathrooms, that's something that is talked about widely in trucking. And it's stuff that maybe like a regular owner wouldn't worry about, but I want to make sure that like our drivers like have everything that they need. So there really aren't locations that they don't want to go to. Obviously there is a lot of convincing, like on a Friday 6 p.m, like, hey, we got to deadhead you 40 miles, but we also make sure that they're compensated according to what the job is.
No, well, that's good. And I'm like absolutely blown away that that's how many that you're working with. That's amazing that you've been able to grow.
Yeah.
Now, have you been able to grow in this market like this year? How does that look compared to last year in your space?
Yes, we're definitely growing. We started working with a tire distributor early this year who is one of my favorite customers. I feel like we've only been working with them for 6 months, but like it feels like we've been working with them forever. And we're working with them in LA and also in Northern California. And what I love about them is that we've transported automotive parts. This is the first time that we transport tires. So there's a lot of intricacies that come with that. And so it's really helped me also approach other tire distributors that, because now I kind of know their lingo. I know the challenges that they have. So it's really, we've grown that way where our customers are really giving us logistics 101, and we're able to just extend ourselves within that vertical.
No, that's awesome. I think, and another thing, sorry, Jeff, I keep talking, but is one more thing that goes along with this rejection of customers, like a customer that you feel might not be a right fit. It seems like the way you're talking is almost like, Old Dominion's out there on the LTL side and they're known for working with specific type of customers and they have really good service. So how do you identify if the customer's not a right fit, and how do you, I guess, handle that?
Yeah, well, there's several questions that we ask. One of the things is the commodity. What is it that we're going to be transporting? Because, insurance requirements. There's a couple of things that we don't transport, like artwork. It's crazy that insurance companies will insure specimens, but not artwork.
That is very interesting. Yeah.
um, just there's certain commodities that we just will not transport. We don't do hazmat. But because I've built so many great relationships with other carriers, I'm able to tell someone like, no, we can't transport that. However, I'll make an introduction with this person, and it'll be another company here in LA that I could refer them to. That way, it keeps the door open with me in case they ever have anything else, or they know anyone that may need my type of services. So it's really asking about all the right questions before you sign that contract. Because once you sign that contract, you're legally binded to transport whatever that contract says.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, go ahead, Jeff. I'll leave it open for you to, to ask
no,
some
no,
questions.
keep on going. You got great questions. Keep going.
Yeah, sometimes I end up just continuing to go and stuff like that. But no, I want to touch on another thing because we're getting closer to time. But so you're serving on a couple boards. You're still serving on these boards right now, or is it just one now? Or
Yes, I'm currently serving on the CLDA board, which is the Customized Logistics and Delivery Association. So it's a trade association for other last mile carriers. And we have our annual conference in February where I get to start my term of president, which I was really excited about because I joined the CLDA 6 months into starting my business. I'm so grateful. I've met so many people there that I'm proud to call mentors and friends. And I was so cocky. My first conference, I was like, you know what? I like it here. I think I'm gonna be president one day. And then now I get to start my term. Obviously, there was a lot of working that I had to do, but I'm just really passionate because of everything that this association has helped me do. Some of my biggest customers, like three of my five biggest customers, are came as a result of direct relationships within this association. So now I get a chance to give back, and I'm going to be the second woman president. I was the first Latina to ever be elected on the board. So along with that, comes like I get to represent. People need to know, like, hey, Latinas are appreciated here, because we are. I think
That's
it's
good.
just more of that mental barrier, but seeing someone in that position, like, hopefully it just opens the door, or more Latinas feel inclined not just to join the final mile sector, but to join the association.
yeah, or the industry in general, like an industry that I feel a lot of women probably think that it's not an industry for them. when you think about transportation in general, even to driving a truck, even though there's a lot of women drivers that are out there. Speaking of, do you have any women drivers?
Yes, we have a couple couriers that are women, and they're pretty strong. I mean, nothing that we transport via sedan is over 100 pounds. But you know what? Even 100 pounds, like there's dollies. Like even there's just because something's 100 pounds doesn't mean like a guy's gonna like lift it on his own. So women may have certain physical limitations, but I feel like women are stronger than what we get credit for. So yeah, I'm grateful that we have a few women drivers. I wish we had more, but it's just not an industry. Maybe in 10 years we'll see more women on the road.
Have you ever thought about tapping women in trucking? Because I know that they have all different types of women drivers. A lot of semi drivers out there, but there are other types of categories that women definitely do drive in, and you probably could find even more if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll check them out. I wonder how they do with Final Mile though. I know I heard Ellen was the previous or the founder, right? I heard
Yeah.
her speak a few years ago about unconscious bias. I loved her presentation. But yeah, I think I'm gonna check them out to see like if they have any Final Mile drivers, because that would be great. That would definitely add to our value.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Something to check out. Well, I mean, this has been a great conversation. I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, which is why we'll probably have you on again at some point. But before we do that, some final thoughts or advice that you can leave for anyone listening out there coming into logistics or that wants to build their career in logistics. What would you say?
I would say just own your identity. The name of my company is Pearl. I'm always wearing pearls, and my favorite color is purple.
Ask you about that.
Yeah, it just own your identity. I remember like at the beginning also thinking, because I was working with a lot of men, I was the only woman. Sometimes like I couldn't really dress feminine, but you know what, I feel good when I dress like myself. Although I do like wearing tennis shoes as well. I don't like wearing heels, but just be comfortable in your own skin, because I feel like you project that. Like when you feel all nervous and when you feel like you don't belong, it comes across in your voice, and it limits what you say. So that would be my advice. Just own your identity. You're there, you have a unique voice, and people need to hear and want to hear what you have to say.
Love it. Well, I'm so proud of how far you've come in your business and your growth, and to hear more about your journey is just amazing.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Always a great speaking with you, Christy. And it was nice meeting you, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people get in contact with you?
I am generally active on LinkedIn. So you can look for me on LinkedIn, and our company website is PearlTrans.com. So if you're interested in any driving opportunities, please reach out to us, or, I'm always looking for other partnerships as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining Christy and I today. We definitely will want to have you back on the show at some point, just to see how your journey is going.
Yeah, absolutely. No insurance questions, though.
Make a mental note of that, but I'm also going to look into that, so maybe we can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, I was going to say we probably should find out, just because we just need to know now. I should ask my attorney, actually.
There you go.
So.
It's going to cost you some money to get that. So
yeah, that's true. Well, unless he'll be out in Long Beach in September when I'm out there. So it'll just be a conversation on the fly.
There you go. There you go. So thank you again, Lorena, for joining us. Thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in to another segment of the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics. I am Jeff Dickinson with my co-host, Christy Knichel. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks again, and take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.